Hi everyone! Recently, I had the privilege of traveling to Rwanda for 8 days as a solo female traveler. And in this video, I wanted to share some advice on what to expect for your trip and how to prepare. The first thing you'll need is a visa. If you're coming from the US, you'll need a visa to enter the country. You can obtain a visa in two ways. The first way is to apply at the official government website at irembo.gov, and there is a $50 application fee for a single entry visa that will last for 30 days. If applying for the e-visa, you have to do it at least 7 days before your trip because it takes several business days to process. And once you obtain the visa, you don't have to print it out, you just have to be able to show the immigration officer. The next way is a visa on arrival. So once you pass through customs, you'll have to queue in another line to buy the visa on arrival. So if possible, I recommend the e-visa route to save you some time. The next thing you'll need are details of your accommodation. At immigration, the officer will ask you for your Airbnb or hotel address, and also your occupation, your length of stay, and the reason that you're visiting Rwanda. So it's important to have these details prepared ahead of time. The last thing is vaccine and medication. Personally, I flew from New York to Amsterdam to Kigali, and they did not ask me for a yellow fever vaccination card. However, if you're coming from other countries within Africa, that may be required. So I personally did not get the yellow fever vaccine, because I was only staying in Rwanda. I did get a prescription to Malarone in the US before my trip. And for Malarone, it's a preventative as well as a treatment to malaria. So I started taking the prescription 2 days before my trip, every day that I was there, and 7 days after I left. And if you'll be visiting Rwanda, I highly recommend taking some sort of malaria medication. So after you have passed immigration, the next thing is the most important thing you can do before driving away from the airport, and that is getting a SIM card through MTN. I paid $11 USD for the eSIM, and it was the second cheapest option for my 8-day trip. I wanted to make sure that I had enough data in case some places didn't have Wi-Fi. And you can pay for the SIM card in USD or Rwandan francs. It will be the same cost either way. If your phone doesn't take SIM cards, MTN also offers eSIM. And once you have retrieved your luggage and walk outside of the airport, you'll see a crowd of taxi drivers waiting for customers. And to the right of the taxi drivers, you'll see 4 booths, and one of them will be an MTN booth with one person working there. And this is where you can get your eSIM or SIM card, because with a Rwandan phone number, then you are now able to access MomoPay. You can think of MomoPay as a checking account in your phone. You can access the balance by dialing a series of numbers in your keypad, and you can load up your MomoPay by going to any of the MTN counters across the country. So once you have established your Rwandan phone number, you can then load your MomoPay at that same MTN counter. And in order to load your MomoPay, you'll need Rwandan francs. In order to do that, there's ATMs at the airport that you can withdraw money from. If you're coming from the US, I highly recommend you get the Charles Schwab International checking account. It's a silver card, and with that card, Charles Schwab will reimburse you for any of the transaction fees. You can also bring some USD with you and exchange it at the Bank of Kigali counter that is right next to the MTN counter at the airport. However, I believe there is a fee associated with that. Personally, I brought USD with me and exchanged it at the Bank of Kigali counter. And then once I exchanged my USD to Rwandan francs, I then brought the money back to the same MTN counter and asked the worker to load up my MomoPay. So I gave her the number of Rwandan francs that I wanted in my MomoPay, and then she accepted that cash and then loaded that onto my MomoPay. You can check your balance by dialing a series of numbers, and you can also ask the worker to help you with this. Once you have loaded your MomoPay, you can then check the balance, and then once you have done that, you'll be all set to go. It's so important to have MomoPay because it allows you to receive change electronically. A lot of times during my trip, I would pay moto drivers or restaurants or shops, and they did not have the exact cash change on hand. So instead, they would transfer me the change in MomoPay. I think as a tourist, especially as a solo traveler in Rwanda, you'll be very limited if you don't have MomoPay. I used MomoPay pretty much daily because I've observed that for a lot of the moto drivers, if you give them a 5,000 Rwandan franc bill, it can be difficult for them to break that up. Finally, after you have gotten your SIM card, loaded your MomoPay, and have some Rwandan franc bills on hand, you're ready to leave the airport. And for transportation to your accommodation, I recommend reaching out to your Airbnb host if you booked an Airbnb to see if they have contact information of taxi drivers. I personally reached out to my Airbnb host and they put me in touch with a taxi driver, and he charged 18,000 Rwandan francs from the airport to the Airbnb if the pickup time was during the day. After a certain time during the night, the price is more expensive. So with that, I'll be making more videos about my trip, and if you have any specific questions, please comment below and I'm happy to respond back in video form.